Good evening. Is this on? Good evening, Mayor. I'd like to call to order the work session meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council for February 3rd, 2022, to order at 7:01 p.m. On roll call, we have Council members Ballesteri. Here. Dennis. Here. Golombek.
Here.
Pellegrin. Here. Sheridan.
Here.
Council President Fasolo.
Here.
Mayor Coletti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Shanae. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our work meeting. Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey require at the commencement of every meeting a statement of compliance be read by the presiding officer. Now, therefore, be advised that the meeting's requirements for this meeting have been met by publishing an annual notice in the Record and Herald News of Woodland Park, and by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk, as well as in a public place within the municipal building, and also by notifying interested citizens. Notice was posted on January 8th, 2022, and published on January 11th, 2022. Anyone from the public at this time care to speak on anything they'd like to speak about? If not, I will close the public portion. Shanae?
Okay, first we have a presentation by Web Samurai.
Mayor, before they begin, if I could just make a comment. I actually met with Web Samurai a few weeks back. It's basically a virtual Main Street to promote local businesses and give updates to residents about different events around town and things like that. So without taking away most of their presentation, this is Web Samurai.
This looks like our gang comedy right now. There we go. Blast off. Well, any questions for the council?
I have a question.
Tony.
Can I go? Okay. How does this work with social media? Are you able to feed into this website?
Yes, it's actually, we can no longer probably surface your social media feeds on the website because of the social media companies. So we could promote, we can have links to your social media, but we can't show like a news feed from Facebook because they stopped doing that. Because remember, Facebook, they want to keep everybody inside their world. So we can do some cross-linking, but we generally like to recommend this, your website will be a place to transact with your local businesses, whereas your social media channel is all for interaction.
If I might add, as far as the social media aspect of it goes, what we sort of counsel would be using your social media feeds to drive traffic to the website, so that all of your, activities and promotions and events are all listed. Everything's on your website that you control, and you're pulling from Facebook and Twitter and wherever to bring people to your digital mainstream. So that's kind of the way we see it interacting.
Okay.
Any other questions from
I
the
have a
council members?
Do you have any materials for us to look at?
I have a couple, I have a copy, a printed copy of today's presentation.
Okay,
And a couple of other.
okay, because we would like to meet with some of our chamber members. Councilwoman Dennis and myself are the liaisons, so we would have to meet with them and discuss this with them.
Sure. If you'd like, I could provide, the Rutherford Chamber of Commerce presidents would be happy to provide a reference as well.
We have to speak with them first, and then we can get back to you.
Wasn't there, Tom, what was the increase, the membership increase that Rutherford saw?
Oh, there's,
30,
25, yeah.
30 or 40% increase in the time that since they sponsored a website like this.
That has taken some old school shoe leather work. I've done walk around with the chamber visiting local businesses. The response has been overwhelmingly positive because they're happy to see that the chamber's back and that people actually care about their business. Because that's one thing about the pandemic, a lot of them felt forgotten. Maybe I don't want to speak for your town, but some of the small businesses got forgotten.
I have another question. How is the information put on the site? Are we allowed to have an in-person, designated person put information on the site? Does everything have to go through your company?
Yes, no, you're no designated person on your side, except for access to the chamber website, or it's like chamber news or chamber events. But again, we keep your main .town website more closed off. That's why the managed hosting includes content moderation, weekly content updates that we provide. You tell us what you want to show on the website, your sales information, or it could be a graphic of something, and we'll post it up.
And what's the turnaround on that?
We ask for a week advance, but the turnaround could be the next day.
Anyone else from the council care to speak? Mike, any questions? No? All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your presentation. The council will vet what we saw here this evening, and we'll see where this goes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, watch your step. Moving right along, Shanae?
Next, we have item 1A, proposal for design services for the 2022 NJDOT Municipal Aid Road Program. Any questions or discussion? No? Then we have 1B, proposal for design
Sorry, I have a
service.
question.
Sure.
This is for Grove Street.
Yes.
The numbers are identical. It still says Mollis River, and we were supposed to look at where the grant, what we actually applied for.
The problem, Daniel, is that the engineer is not with us this evening, and we're going to discuss this at the next public meeting.
No, I understand, but no one's saying anything, so we're not moving it forward to vote on it, right?
No.
No, we're holding this. I talked to Tom. He reworked the numbers. He has a new figure that gets us from MOLA to Vivni, which is within the grant scope. He will report that on the 17th, I believe it is.
And
All right.
Daniel, that'll go for A, B, C, and D in the engineer's report. So this is all going to be up to us to scrutinize with him at our public meeting.
Got it.
Okay.
Shanae?
Item 1B, Proposal for Design Services 2021 NJDOT Municipal Aid Road Program, Mola Boulevard to Linden Avenue to Phillip Avenue. Any discussions or questions?
Well, we really have
Gonna
no
hold.
questions at this point because the
Well,
engineer is not here.
Okay.
There's no need for this if we proceed with, with 3A, that's the meeting Mike had with the state DOT people. So there's no need for a LIMO, at least the design phase, if we end up using the vendor the state pays for.
But are we talking about two different projects here? Phase 1 and Phase 2? I believe the design that you were alluding to is the last phase on the boulevard.
Right, so I guess this question is for Mike. Are they able to, because it would make no sense if we're having one theme, one design, one theme that we're doing on the boulevard, to have a LIMO do Linden to Phillip, and then have this state group do Phillip to Route 4.
Well, how far along is a LIMO on Phase 1? I think that has to be into
They're not
consideration.
anywhere. This is the proposal for them to, actually do design work.
For both phases we're talking about then.
No, so the state, Mike can jump in, but the state reached out about the federal grant piece that's from Phillip all the way to Route 4. But, we have this other piece that's state money, and it just wouldn't make sense to have a LIMO design that part of the project, and then the state people that the state's paying for do the part from Phillip to Route 4. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So at the meeting the mayor and I had with this engineering firm, they weren't aware of the other grant. We made them aware of it at the meeting, and they're supposed to get back to us on if they are eligible to give us design services for that grant as well. They're going to get back to me on that.
Yeah, now my question is, how far into this, I'll call it Phase 1, is a LIMO? They're not. Okay, so I get your point, Daniel.
So we're holding on 1A and 1B, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So item 1C is Proposal for Design Services, which is just a revised proposal.
So hold on, can I call a timeout here? Just the rest of the council.
Yeah.
I know the email was sent to them, but the engineering firm that the mayor and I met with, under this grant, are able to provide engineering services within the scope of the grant and not take away from the grant, but their portion would be paid for, not out of the grant and not out of the borough's pocket. So that's a win for us, and we're exploring that further, but we're not ready to move on it at this time.
Yeah, no, this is a very good thing for the council. It seems that this firm has a niche where it's not going to cost us anything for engineering fees. The only thing that I had questioned at the time was a site visit. Who was in charge of providing the fees for that? And he said he had thought there was an avenue where they can recoup the site visits also. So this is all big win-win-win so far. Too good to be true, maybe. Mike? We're good?
Yeah, you nailed it, Mayor, so we can move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Shanae?
So item 1C, is it okay to go on for the next meeting? The
Yes,
revised proposal?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have,
The only thing on the proposal, I'm sorry. I had thought their fee was a little high. Mike, can we talk to him? He's at 18%, and that seems, I like to be around 15%. And I understand some jobs are more intense in terms of more work they have to do based on, even though that project's not a big project, but there's a lot of paperwork. So, I don't know, just a call to them maybe, if you, and see if they would reduce that fee a little bit?
Yes, I'll talk to them about it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Item 1D is an award approval letter from the NJDOT to our engineer, Alimo, for year 2018 municipal aid program.
Okay.
Moving on to correspondence, item 2A, Board of Recreation resignation.
Sean, you're leaving us?
For Nolan Van Rye. Any questions or discussions? Mayor?
Mayor, we're looking to replace
For
the
no,
advisory.
Oh, okay, yes. This was Kenny, not Kenny, Nolan. Nolan Van Rye. He's stepping away, and I congratulate Sandy for being on top of this. She suggested to me a favorite of the girls softball, been with us for 50 years, and she was at one time on the rec board, and I think she would be a great replacement. I think Sandy's on board with that, and I had spoken to her, Brenda Hoffman, and she would like to come onto the board, if that's okay with the council. Hmm? Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have resolutions. Item 3A, I believe we just discussed, which is GPI engineering for the 2020 streetscape project. Any questions or discussions? Item 3B, vacation buybacks. Any questions or discussions?
No.
Item 3C, redeem third-party tax liens. Any questions or discussions? Item 3D, after-school program, gym supervisor hire for recreation department. Any questions or discussions?
What is that, Mike? What do we hunt? Do we know?
Behind the gym supervisor and an after-school counselor.
This is
Gym
all,
supervisor and after-school counselor, and with special events.
okay.
Special events.
This is standard procedure? Each year you have to do that? Okay.
Okay, item 3E, tax serve contract extension. Any questions or discussion?
You want to break that down for us, Michael? Tax service
Yeah,
contract?
this is, we're just renewing the contract for the service that works for the court to get, recover fines. And they get a portion of the fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, item 3F is fireworks contract. Any questions or discussion?
From what I understand, it's just going to be verbatim of what we did last year.
Same thing, the borough attorney and I worked on this, he reviewed the contract, it's the same exact contract, and they kept the price steady.
Okay. Any problems with that, council? Moving along?
We have item number 3G, fire department volunteer leave of absence. Any questions or discussion?
I believe it's Peter Chewinski's leaving us.
Yes.
It's a leave of absence, so he's leaving an avenue to come back. Okay.
Okay. Item 3H, fire department volunteer removals. Any questions or discussions?
Is this a hostile situation, Mike? The fire department volunteer removal?
Not that I'm aware of, Mayor. Steve, you know anything about that? No, it's not hostile.
Okay, item 3I, fire department fourth quarter stipend. Any questions or discussions? Moving on to ordinances, we have item 4A, cannabis ordinance amendment. Any questions or discussions?
Yeah, I think, what are we amending, Sal?
Yeah, basically, going through because of the fact that the state has revamped constantly, every month, they seem to be making changes. So we have to compare what their requirements are and have to redraft certain changes to make our ordinance meet their requirements. So basically, this particular amendment is to clarify certain aspects which meet their requirements and also sets forth certain requirements for application fees, which now we can charge before we could. But now we're able to do so. So those are the basic changes in the ordinance. But we need to amend it in order to comply with the state.
Thank you, Sal. Moving along.
Yes, item 4B, illegal apartments amendment.
I guess you're up again, Sal.
Up again, I am good at this. This particular issue came to my attention. Apparently, our ordinance regarding the unlawful dwellings, there's a section where it sets forth penalties. It's been addressed by the court, and the issue came up in the court, municipal court, with regards to the enforcement of that section. Apparently, the state statute requires that there be a 30-day notice to anyone before that penalty can be assessed. That penalty would be contrary, that state statute is contrary to what we have. And our ordinance, which assesses $1,500, is over the amount that the state allows without entertaining a 30-day grace period for that individual to correct the issue. So that causes a problem in the enforcement of this part of the code because it violates the other section of the statute. So the point here is to either amend our ordinance to include a 30-day notice period for them to cure the unlawful apartment, or to lower the amount to $1,250 as the state statute allows without the 30 days. So I would think that there's something to be discussed where I believe that it would be best to leave the fine but allow the 30-day period for a notice and for the person, the landlord, to cure the violation.
What you're saying is $1,250 with no notice, $1,500 with a notice. Now, why would we want to give somebody who has an illegal apartment a chance to escape being penalized in that first month?
Well, it's almost like in anything else, Mayor. If you don't give someone an opportunity to correct a violation, now a lot of times it's the circumstances. The circumstances of a particular case, let's say that there was a purchase and there was an illegal apartment, but the people didn't know that it was illegal, and there was no notice given. Or the people that are renting didn't know that they were renting an illegal apartment, and the landlord or the owners didn't know either, and the violation comes about. By giving a 30-day period to cure, it's giving them a time period to correct the problem.
Now, we're not talking about a violation of like the apartment where they're not up to code or something. We're talking about somebody who's running an illegal dwelling. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the resident, the renter, does not get penalized. It's the owner who should get penalized, correct? So why are we giving him 30 days free after he broke the law?
What I'm trying to say, Mayor, is that in any court of law, whether that particular aspect was there or not, the court will be inclined to give them an opportunity to cure the violation.
And curing would be,
Meaning, Your Honor, if I get an adjournment for 30 days, I will evict and get rid of the tenant for the illegal apartment.
I'm having a hard time understanding this.
Mayor, can I jump in? So in our situation, let's say we were to go with the 30-day.
Right.
Building department could give them a notice saying, you have 30 days to resolve this, otherwise you're going to be fined $1,500. They don't resolve it. We go to court on it. We bring that documentation to the court and say, Your Honor, we gave them 30 days already. The judge is going to probably be inclined to hit them with the fine at that point. Rather than like Mr. Ingraffia is saying, the judge is probably going to say, well, I'm going to give you time to resolve this. So now we're a lower fine and we're back to square one.
I see the benefit of that aspect of it. It just seems to me that if you, for 2 or 3 years, you're collecting an extra rent, putting the burden on all the taxpayers in Elmwood Park, and now you're gonna be free of it with the 30 days. That's the part I don't understand.
The other thing, Mayor, is the courts are not even hearing these cases, and you can't even get a bench warrant for anything like this, criminal stuff only. So I think it's in our best interest to give the person an opportunity to remediate it, which is the goal anyway. If we collect a fine, we collect a fine, but the goal is to eradicate the illegal apartments. That's just my opinion.
It's just a matter of giving the court an opportunity to say, hey, look, you have been given a notice. You have been served with a 30-day period to correct. Why you're asking for any further opportunity or adjournments from me? That makes it very difficult. If there is no 30-day and the argument is made by statute, it still requires the 30 days, but it's because of the fine level. The court will still turn around and could potentially use its discretion in granting the 30 days anyway.
Okay.
You know,
All right,
so you're actually circumventing the possibility of the court exercising that independent.
No, I get it, Sal. How's the council feel about this?
I agree. That's,
What are we shaking our heads to?
You have your construction official here who's going to be doing the enforcement on this anyway. I want to ask his opinion.
You want to chime in, Tony?
Well, it would be myself and Steve. So I get your point, and I think that's a valid point, that, you know, they're going to get 30 days. My question to Sal would be, what about repeat offenders? Because we seem to have people...
Repeat offenders, there's section of the state statute which...
So if we gave someone 30 days, and then they do what they do to make it no longer an apartment, and then 3 months from now, no one's watching, and they put someone else back into that apartment. That's what Steve and I deal with. So then would we have to give them another 30 days?
No,
No.
no way.
Because they're violating...
No, I'm talking about by law,
They're
by state statute.
violating, once they have been given notice of a violation that exists, timely fashion or given opportunity to correct.
Right.
All right, then that puts them in a complete category which the court looks at it and says, you're not even trying to abide by what the ordinance is or the law. Therefore, you're being abusive and abusing the actual statute and the ordinance. Doesn't have to grant anything.
But the other part of that is they have a tenant that's in there. So if they don't relocate that tenant within 30 days, then we still have the right, because that onus would be on them, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You still have the right. 30 days is just a grace period that they get in order to comply with the state statute.
Right, so they're gonna get that 30 days, you're saying, no matter what?
They're going to get, if you don't push the issue, they'll even get more than 30.
Okay.
Actually, they can get the case dismissed.
And Sal, even if you could prove that this owner was taking rents from these people for 2 years straight, which would be tens of thousands of dollars, it doesn't matter to a judge?
When the violation exists, and when the violation comes to surface, meaning that the building department acts on it, and that's where they fall then into. I'm sure, Mayor, if you go through this town, there's probably more apartments that we all know that may or may not exist, but if they the situation here is, depending on what we're doing, and the issue, this issue came up because of this violation and distinction between our ordinance and the state ordinance. If but for that distinction, wouldn't have been no problem. The ordinance is fine. You have situation where at any time, even if the building inspector or the building department issues a violation of an occupancy or a violation of a zoning area or a zoning code violation, anyone can make them an application to go before the zoning board, planning board, for variances. It may not be granted, but they still have an opportunity to do that.
To make it, try and make it a three-family.
Exactly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to occur. But as a stall method, it's done.
Tony, you happy with this, son?
Tony, if there's an illegal apartment or tenant,
Did you say illegal?
illegal, right? Right. Now, if they have to remove them, is there anything in that apartment that should be removed as well, that's, whether it's a kitchen, whatever that shouldn't be there, that should be forced to be removed, so they don't bring someone else and do the same thing again?
Yes. So part of the ordinance that Steve and I helped proposed and the council passed was that you cannot have another kitchen in the basement with a full bathroom. So, you know, if some people say, I like to have a summer kitchen in my basement, okay, great, but you cannot have a full bath. You couldn't have a shower or a tub. It would have to be a half bath. So that this way, you can't rent it out to someone, because how would they bathe if they were in that? So if they wanted a full bath, then they couldn't have the kitchen. And we have that ordinance in place. That was passed by you guys. So yes, it would have to be removed.
So that person, this particular situation, is that the case there, or?
Well, and I mean, there's other things to consider, because if it's truly in a basement, you know, and there's a bedroom there, a requirement is to have an egress window, which is a certain size window that they can get out of. So, you know, they would need to either put that in place to have that bedroom, or they would have to eliminate the bedroom. Also, part of the ordinance was that when you propose now a basement renovation, that it has to be one big room. That you can't split it up, because then it gives people, you know, the opportunity down the road to add that bedroom that should not be there. So we're trying to put these things in place, plus we'll have plans that we can refer back to and say, well, what was here before? And then we look and we go, oh, this was just an open basement. Now there's 2 bedrooms. So we know that none of us approved that. So then that would have to also be removed as part of this remediation.
It's technically, with all due respect, Mr. Ambrose, the crucial aspect of an illegal apartment is defined as having 3 things. A livable area has to be considered a separate livable quarter of an apartment. Has to have 3 things combined. A bedroom, living, sleeping area, a kitchen, and a bath. Those 3 things make the particular area a livable, separate apartment. If you take any of those combinations out, with all aspects, can't have a bath, so therefore it would be health-wise unlivable. If you have a bath, you can't have a kitchen, then therefore you can't eat there, and there's no cooking facility. If you don't have a bedroom, then it's a usable area for the occupants of that apartment or the apartments that's there. So it's not a matter of separateness in a sense, but it's the combination of the 3. You take those combinations out, and that's what the building department.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, in this particular incident, and possible repeat offender, like you said, if there's these items in that house, something should be removed, so they can't use that again,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I mean, and the difficulty, and, you know, Steve can attest to this, and Mike's actually aware of some of these cases, where we've had, you know, houses that were built, you know, in the 70s, they already had this
Right.
kitchen and bathroom, and then, you know, that woman, she just continued, we would kick everybody out, and we'd get compliance, we'd all go there and make sure everything's correct. 3 months later, she's back at it. I mean, it was just incredible and frustrating.
Well, that's because years ago, especially, I'll use my grandmother as an example, she had that Italian kitchen in the basement. You tried to take that away from her, she hit you right upside your head.
That's my only concern with this, is like what you're saying, we give them compliance, which we have. And the thing is, you give them the, whatever it is, 2 weeks, give them a month to comply, they know you're coming back on that date. Everything's gonna be cleared out, and I've seen it firsthand, everything, the bed, the dresser, all that stuff's pushed over into the garage. You walk out, 10 minutes later, you know what they're doing.
Well, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
Okay? Then the only thing is when there's repeated offenders, that's where the court system gets into the picture.
And again, unfortunately, right now, I know with everything going on, you know, the same thing like the chief said earlier, I've got court cases sitting that are well over a year old, and every 3 months, I get another one, 3 months out, 3 months out, 3 months out. I got like 20 of them sitting out there.
You're lucky it's only 3 months old. Trying to go to the
Well, no,
county.
they keep going.
Yeah.
So if I write you a
Go to the
ticket,
county,
3 months.
forget about it. We're 3 years behind.
So Sal, we give this person the 30 days that we're talking about, and they do, and say there is a repeat and they do it again. What happens? Do they
It's
have
up
to get
to
them
the
out
court.
immediately? How does that actually work?
It's up to the court then
Oh.
to exercise.
But then again, that could be another 30 days anyway.
Determining that this guy is.
We can't remove them.
Right, I know.
The judge
No,
has
no,
to.
I know, I know.
I have a
You know
question.
how it's delayed, very delayed with the court system.
I have my neighbor's bus parked in their driveway for, how long, a year? It still isn't on the
Yeah,
calendar.
right, I know.
So,
Can I ask a question? I don't know if this might sound silly, but I'm just thinking of this in my head. You said it had to have those 3 different components for it to be illegal. Now, what if somebody has a bedroom, okay, and they have the bathroom with either tub, shower, whatever, and they don't have a kitchen with a sink, to say, or countertops or anything, but they may have like, you know, a little foldable table with a microwave and a refrigerator. Is that considered a kitchen?
It could be considered a kitchen.
It can be. Okay, so it doesn't have to have a sink or anything like that?
When you combine cooking facilities.
Okay.
I mean,
No, but I'm saying, like, somebody might say a microwave and a refrigerator is in a kitchen.
what you have is, in colleges, they used to turn around and have hot plates.
Right.
Right, right.
But that would still be considered illegal?
You know,
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a cooking facility. It's a means of cooking, and that makes it a kitchen.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the sentiment of the council here now? Which way do you want to go? Are you guys, do you have any further opinion on this?
No, I think if our ordinance is conflicting with the state ordinance, then we should probably get in line, as long as we know that the repeat offenders, we're going to be able to go after and just hit them with our $1,500 fine, especially knowing that, like Sal said, if they're gonna give them the 30 days anyway, if we don't have the 30 days and they're gonna give it to them anyway, because the judge will typically grant that, then, you know, what are we gaining by not having it and not being in compliance, is my opinion.
You have to take into consideration that is the penalty section of the ordinance, which complies with the state statute, with the exception of the amount of $1,500. The first fine is up to $1,500, but it says and/or. Imprisonment for a term not to exceed 90 days. And/or a period of community service not to exceed 90 days. You can't, the unfortunate thing about it is that this is like a civil thing. It's not a criminal aspect. So the courts have enough to try to deter. But if there's a guy that makes $15,000, $20,000 in violating, and he's gonna get hit $1,500 and maybe a 90-day community service. What are you gonna do? The statute, the state statute is the strongest one, and we're above it.
What's the second offense in our,
90 days jail term, up to 90 days.
and what's the amount of the fine, second offense?
1,500, there's no amount, there's always 1,500, the highest.
Each account would be 1,500. Maybe we should consider raising that for the offender, second offender.
Well, if you're going to give them the 30 days, then we can go up to 2,000 or 2,500.
So you gotta make it hurt, Sal. The one thing we've always found is unless it hits their pocketbook, you know.
But you cannot make a penalty to be to a grade of.
No, we understand.
That just, it isn't, it's not, they're not going, no court will allow you to do that.
Go ahead, Terry.
So basically, what you're telling us is the 30 days is not going to change, but the money part can change. So if that's the case, then why don't we just keep the 30 days?
No, you don't have the 30 days, that's the problem.
All right, but if we get the 30 days,
Then you can raise the
I mean,
amount.
like they said, if you hit them in the pocket, even though they have this money from these people living there, sooner or later, it's going to hit them.
You have 1,500 is the most. The statute, the state statute requires $1,250 not to provide them the 30 days. But if you provide the 30 days, then you have the right to exceed that 1,250.
So we're going to,
Provide the 30 days, because you're not gonna see a court.
right, for months, years, whatever.
But we do want to up the amount of money.
Definitely, yeah, I think we should up the money.
Tony, any suggestions on that?
So what can you go, if you give them the 30 days?
Now, how about I make this kind of suggestion? You give them the 30 days, you put in the 30 days, and then you put a graduate in the event of first, second, third violation. And you up it on those.
So what's the first one?
Violation, you up it twice, make it 3,000.
The first one's 1,500?
First one is 1,500, you make the second violation will be 3,000. The third violation will be
4,500?
4,500, 5,000.
Going to see a lot of couches on the streets. That's for sure. All right, is everybody in agreement with that? We're going to go up in $1,500 increments?
Yes.
Up to, what, 3?
You can go up as far as you want. I wouldn't go too far. I would say the third violation is making it 4,500 or 40,000, 4,000.
Well, keep them 15, 3,000, 4,500, 6,000.
Demo the house.
Do it in increments of 500. 1,500, 2,000, 2,500.
No.
Boy, I tell you, Sal, I want to go in front of you as a judge.
I'm trying to look at how a judge will look at it, you know, and let me tell you something, if you go too high on it, they're gonna turn around and say, that's not, it just isn't.
Okay, so what are we saying here?
It's not equitable.
What are we saying here?
I don't know, I think we should, rely on Sal for his knowledge
I
of how
believe that I
the court
could-
system works.
I could make the argument that a $500 increment, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 is reasonable.
And then the landlord's going to come back and tell the tenant that rent stays down, right? That's what he'll tell him. It doesn't go up, and you can keep the dog. All right, we all agree on that?
No.
You don't, Terry?
No.
Okay.
All right, what do you,
I,
tell me, what else?
I think we should go 15, 3, 45.
Mayor, if I could, Terry Kemporo.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Let me introduce.
Yeah.
We just went through this in the Sea Caucus, and I'm general counsel in the Sea Caucus. I agree with Sal. 500 increments is something the court is more palatable to. If it's 1,500, 3,000, I get it, but I think the judge, as your counsel is saying, is going to hitch on it. Most municipalities I've seen is 500 increments, so I go with counsel. I agree with it. But I understand your pain.
Oh, it's not really my pain, it's their pain.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let's poll the council. All right? Terry, I'll start with you once again. Yea or nay to what Sal suggested?
Nay.
Okay, Lorraine?
Yes.
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 That passes. All right. Moving along.
Increments.
Yeah,
Yep.
500 increments.
Okay, moving on to 4C, which is the tattoo ordinance.
Hi, you're up again.
Are we going to find people with the tattoos?
This was an ordinance that I've been sort of
Kicking around.
I mean, really working at it because we don't have anything. And unfortunately, in this town, we had totally banned it, okay? But in today's world, you can't ban things, especially businesses. So I worked extensively trying to make a very reasonable, and yet I had to cover quite a bit to make an ordinance come to meet the requirements of state statutes, Board of Health statutes, and rules and regulations. So by enacting this particular ordinance, which allows tattooing and body piercing in only a certain area of the zoning aspect, which is commercial, limiting it only in that area, which we can do. Because it is limiting and affecting a zoning requirement and zoning use, once you enact and introduce it, it has to go to the planning board for them to consider the zoning aspect of it. Okay, and I don't believe it should be a problem. Because we are restricting it with 500 feet away from any school, churches, and stuff like that. And no two particular operations could be closer than 500 feet from each other. And maintaining it solely on a commercial, and light and commercial. So that's, but this is I believe to be a very good ordinance, takes care of everything. The Board of Health is going to be tremendously involved in it, because that's where some of their jurisdiction.
Okay, Sal. Oh, does anybody have a problem with allow Sal to go forward with the ordinance? One meeting here, please, one meeting. Anybody have a problem with Sal moving forward with the ordinance?
By the
No?
way, for the question of a concern, it has to, they could only do so and provide services to an 18-year-old or older. And the ordinance also takes into effect that they have to have an affidavit signed by the individual who is receiving the services, showing them identification and/or requirements that they are 18 or older.
Under 18, they can get parental consent.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Okay. No problem?
No.
No problem.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, before we move along, while we have fire here, building, and legal, we had spoke about an ordinance that would make it mandatory that before plans come, or as simultaneously as plans come into the planning board, that they would be reviewed for traffic study, fire, which we have, and also the building. Now, are we all in line so that that happens automatically?
Most of your site plan is required.
Well, I don't think somehow, I don't think they're making their way to Mike
Right.
Really?
in many cases, yeah.
They're not.
Are you kidding?
I think Steve gets a good look at it for the most
Some
part.
of them, and sometimes some of them I don't.
It should be a requirement, it should be a requirement, because a traffic study, when you're looking for a site plan, if there is a site plan which is going to require an aspect or whatever it is. I mean, I'm not talking about a one-family home type of thing, that you're gonna do a site plan for an extension. You wouldn't want to study.
Sal, I've been police chief for 8 years. The only one I ever got was Prologis.
So then you got mine when I did mine, and I wasn't even supposed to give it to you then, right? Is that what you're telling me?
I didn't get any, the only one we ever got was
It
Prologis.
wasn't you, it was in Grassolino.
We need a checklist, and maybe, Tony, you could take,
I think it would be appropriate for the board secretary to make sure that, they reach out to the individual, department heads or, the chief, Steve, myself. I mean, generally, we see it, Scott, yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, each of the boards have their authority to request. And
well, we know that, Sal, but what I'm trying to do now is, this is ambiguous right now. I want to put that to sleep. Let's have somebody with a checklist, fire, police, building, and,
it's very simple, Mayor. You don't have to go crazy. It's the application on the planning board level and the applications on the zoning board level, you have a checklist of items that have to be presented.
okay.
If it's not there, if it doesn't say a traffic study, then they should add it.
I think what happens is these people are doing their own traffic studies and submitting them. Businesses come into this town, and we as the police department don't even know that they're there. We find out the first time we respond to them. I don't understand it either, that's why we're talking about this.
I was on the planning board, and Mr. Freitag and I were there, and I remember anything that came before us, I always remember if there was a traffic study. Am I right?
Not from the local police department.
Yes.
No, I've been
Who else
chief of
is gonna
police
get over it?
I've been chief of police 8 years.
What?
I've never authorized a traffic
Are
study,
you kidding?
except for Prologis.
Well, then somebody at the zoning board, at the planning board, should wake up and get you involved.
Not just me.
I'm just saying.
It should happen before it comes to the planning board. Go ahead, Chris. Chris.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I say something?
Yes, go ahead. Hold on, Chris. Go ahead,
This has come up on the council level at least 4 times in the last 3 years. I think this can be handled internally with all the professionals because it just keeps coming up to the council. The council doesn't have, there's nothing for us to vote on here or pass anything. I just think if it comes from the top down, we'll get it to work the way we want it to.
Well, I'm
There's
just,
nothing for the council to do here.
we have a discussion, we have all the parties in the room. I want to put this to sleep. We're talking about one simple checklist that somebody's got to take command of and make sure that we're not sitting there with our thumbs at a meeting on the planning board and we don't know if this traffic study is accurate or not, which is coming from the applicant. We want an independent traffic study, not just the ones that are coming from the applicant. So we have to come up real quick with an idea of who's going to have that checklist and make sure that this doesn't happen again.
And Mayor, my point is I agree with you, but if a meeting is scheduled during the day with everyone that needs to be involved, they can talk, discuss how they're going to do this, and let the council, mayor and council know here's how we're going to go forward. Otherwise, we're going to spin our wheels for 40 minutes, and I think we may or may not accomplish this, or it may come up again in 6 months when something else makes us.
Daniel, this is being accomplished right now. Somebody's got to take charge of that list.
So I
That's
said,
the
Mayor,
end of it.
this originates mostly out of the building department, so if Tony is amenable to it, would you draft that list that all the professionals that need to put eyes on a project would put their eyes on it and have a check off and a sign off?
I can put that together, but what I think is best is if we put this list together, we give it to the
Chairman.
the chairman of each board, so when the application goes to them, they're gonna say, okay, this is the application, this has to be put on the docket, they do all the work to get that going. So then they can reach out to the people that are on that list and say, hey, we got this application, if you want, go look at it, and then give us any comments that you may have that pertain to it.
Yeah.
Because with regard to the traffic study, they're gonna have a traffic study done by their professional, then we have our board professional, who usually is the planner, he's gonna have his traffic study. We're talking about Mike being the one who lives here and knows the traffic better than anyone else. He may say, wait a second, why are you gonna put a light there? That would just clog this town up like nobody's business. That's a bad idea. Only he would know that. So that's really what we're trying to get. We're trying to get internal information, nothing that is, he's not gonna do a traffic study, he's gonna give us his expertise.
No,
as the-
he will do. He does have the ability, he has got a traffic segment to his operation that would do a traffic study. Am I correct with that, Mike?
Yes, but it's not just the police department, it's fire, it's DPW. I mean, there's a lot of things that we deal with now that are unique to Elmwood Park that we say, oh my God, if we would have been consulted on this, we would have made, suggested this minor change, and we could have avoided this issue that me and Tony are fighting and battling. That's all we're saying.
Okay, so Tony, you'll take the lead?
Of who needs to go, I'll get it to Mr. Freitag, and I think it's Jimmy Goloviski is the other one? Yes. So,
Yeah.
and then they, I'm sure they'll get that out
Yeah.
to, especially once we talk to them and say, listen, this needs to be done, and then we'll let them do it, because they're really the point person for all of these applications.
For sure. And what we want is, we want a study that's independent. When we get Steve's point of view, that's independent of the applicant. When we get your point of view, it's independent. Traffic study coming from our sources is independent. The other, on occasion, in a couple of last meetings, and you can bear me out on this, Jeff, we sat there like with our thumbs in the air. So, all right, but we resolved this.
Okay?
And just one other question while I have you all here. We at one time were working on an ordinance to increase the height of a building. Where did we go with that?
Well, I am in the works with that, Mayor.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it together because there are sections of the code that are affected as soon as you make that change. So I'm going to be having a draft of the ordinance, the changes, and I will sit down with Mr. Ambrosio with it in order to make sure that all the sections work
Yeah.
out.
I know we cleared up the sump pump situation, and this was kind of piggybacked, but then came COVID, and then,
And not only that, but then we had an election and we couldn't do anything. But
okay,
it's going to be presented in the next month or so, that will be the next.
excellent. All right, with that said, Shanae?
Next, we have departmental reports. 5A is Recreation Advisory Board meeting minutes from November 15, 2021. Any discussion? Okay. 5B, Millennium Strategies monthly report for calendar year 2022. Any discussions? 5C is the Finance Department monthly budget report. Any discussions? And 5D, Building Department monthly report for January 2022. Any discussions? Okay, Mayor, this concludes my portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Council reports, I'll start off with the Councilwoman Ballesteri.
Okay, I just want to let the board, the council know that the volleyball for 18 and over is in play. February 1st it began to April 5th, Tuesdays from 7 to 10. It's $10 each week. So you just come with, you pay at the door when you come. I have one question. The middle school graduation is June 16th, high school June 17th. June 16th happens to be our public meeting. I know we're invited to both, Tanisha and I both have children that are graduating. Is there a possibility we could change the 1 week to a different Thursday? Because I know we've done that in the past for other situations, if the council doesn't mind. June 16th? It's June 16th graduation. Seems a little earlier this year, but. Yeah.
Shanae, could you look into it and see what ramifications that would occur by changing it and so on and so forth? And then get back to,
I don't think it would be a problem to move it down to the 23rd. I mean, June 23rd.
well,
instead of 16th.
let's see from
Right, but like it's
the
a week
clerk's
later,
point
so-
of view.
Okay.
I know it's easy for us to say, but she's the one that has to make sure it works for her.
Okay, I'll email everyone and set up a meeting notice to change it if needed.
Yeah, and we'll get it done, Sandy.
All right, thank you.
We want you there, and you too.
Thank you.
Okay,
Progress, Mayor.
thank you. Mr. Golombek, Councilman.
Yes, Mayor. No, just one thing. I don't know if it's going to be in your report, but I'm curious whether we have a projected opening date for the library.
Yeah, I have it here. Oh, well, I have a possible opening date.
Chief, you'll address that in your report, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm good. Thank you.
okay. Councilwoman Dennis?
Very good.
I practiced that all day long.
I know.
You know, it is one of my best friends' first name was Dennis.
That should be easy.
And, well, what I have to do is, yes, I have to flip it in my brain. And you know, as you get older, it's hard to flip it.
One thing I'll say, Council,
So we have two things. I attended the Board of Ed meeting on January 25th, and I provided the council a copy of a resolution that was voted on at that meeting. There will be a special meeting held soon by the board, and I'll let you know when that date is published. The resolution they had spoke about was a refunding of school bonds that's going to directly affect the taxpayers. They're looking to refinance some bonds that they got back in 2014, and they're looking to save a possible $30,000 to $40,000. A special public meeting will be held, and I'll let you guys know as soon as that notice is handed out, and I gave you a copy so you can review it at your leisure. And then the other thing was the Diversity Committee has started meeting, and we're still in the planning stages of various events at Elmwood Park. Just want to let you guys know there was a company we're working with that posted an advertisement for an event online, and the information is incorrect, so we want you guys to disregard that. And as soon as the details are worked out, we will make an official announcement for the first event that we're having. Other than that,
Very good.
progress.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you were saying there, the events committee was in full force the other night. It was a great meeting, and we got a lot done, and a lot of energy still there, which is important, because that's what drives it, is the energy. Very nice. Councilwoman Pellegrini.
Yes, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My police update. Our new EMS service started on February 1st. Some important facts. It's a paid service made up of our own employees, 12-hour-a-day coverage, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's much easier to get a mutual aid ambulance between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. We are waiting on the state to approve our billing license. Once approved, we will move to a 24-hour service. Only insurance will be billed, no out-of-pocket expense for our residents. In the event you receive a bill, please contact the Borough Administrator's Office at 201-796-1457, extension 106. EMTs will be stationed at our EMS building on Falmouth Ave and will respond to all calls from that location. A big thank you to Chief Foligno and his team and our Borough Attorney, Sal Ingrafia, for all their hard work to make this new service come to life. Reminder, next Board of Health meeting is February 14th at 7 p.m., and the public is always welcome to attend. Lastly, last Wednesday, I, along with Mayor Coletti and my council colleagues, attended the Three Chefs Steakhouse ribbon-cutting ceremony. We welcomed them to our Elmwood Park community, and we wish them much success. The location is 435 River Drive. Progress, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Pellegrini. Councilwoman Sheridan.
Thank you, Mayor. January's meeting, on behalf of the Homeowners Association and myself, I would like to thank you, Councilwoman Lorraine Pellegrini, for showing up on Wednesday. As everybody knows, the mayor was our guest speaker, and, doesn't work, okay. He was the guest speaker. He explained everything about the ambulance, which went over great. I mean, it was just a nice, enjoyable night, and thank you from me and Linda. That was for January. In February, the homeowners come and join us. February 23rd at 7 o'clock. Our guest speaker will be Mike Foligno, police chief / BA. And he's also going to bring his police teaming. They're going to update us on all the police matters. Any questions the public or anybody has, I'm sure Him and his staff will be more than happy to answer them. Bring family and friends. February 25th, the Homeowners Association is running a bus ride to Winds Creek Casino. The bus will leave the Recreation Center at 10 o'clock, return at 7. The cost is $40, and you get back $35 cash voucher. If you want reservations, call Linda at 201-966-7694. As far as the seniors go, I spoke with Christina Cobb. The senior center is basically open, but it's limited. On February 8th, she's going to have a Valentine's Day craft decorate our tree. That's at 12:45. February 11th, benefit of chocolate. She teamed up with the Fair Lawn ShopRite. That's at 10:30. February 15th is blood pressure screening from 11:30 to 12:30. February 15th is a sweet bingo bash. That's at 12:45. That's limited seating only. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Just to piggyback off of what you said about our meeting with the homeowners, I think what made that so successful was the fact that you spoke, and you spoke, you both spoke, unrehearsed. We looked like a unit up there. We were council strong, and that's what I think was the success of that moment.
Mayor, if I could,
Sure, sure.
to add to you too, really it was a very informative evening that night. There was many questions about our new ambulance service, and really I think you did a really great job explaining how it's going to operate. And I think it really was a very nice night, a very informative evening. It was, you know, their first meeting of the new year, and I think everything really, really went well that night.
I agree with you. It felt good, and that's all we can go on. And we had a lot of information for them. The VFW, the RAP program, the ambulance corps. So there was not too many questions, which is good, because that means we're getting our point
It
across.
definitely went well.
Yeah, very nice, ladies. Council President Fasolo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, nice and quick, commend our DPW for the last snowstorm and all our emergency services. Always a job well done with that snowstorm that we had last weekend. Progress.
Okay, I have one item. At our public meeting, I'll have a host of items. It's been very, very busy for the council and myself, along with our BA. It seems like with the COVID coming to a good end, there's more things to do, and they pile up. But it feels good that we're moving along once again. One announcement that I checked in with the chairperson at the library, there will be curbside pickups as of February 7th. Now, I'm not familiar with that, but I assume if you call in with an order, then they will bring it to the curb. And I don't know if that's a COVID restriction or just the mere fact that the building, Tony, did they get the CO yet there? Did they get the library? Wake up, Tony. Did they get the CO for the library so they can actually operate if they wanted?
Yeah, when was that? What is it, December 9th? Our finals were on December 9th.
So, okay. So in any case, we got curbside pickups as of February 7th and a possible opening, full-fledged opening, 2 weeks later. And that will end my report. May I have a motion to open the floor for public comments?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public care to speak? Yes, Mr. Freitag.
Okay, Jeffrey Freitag, 35 Holman Drive. One of the questions that came up at the homeowners, a gentleman there, who I think had been shown an interest a few years ago in becoming a member of the ambulance corps through training, about volunteers. Is there a training path that a person can take as a volunteer to become a member of the ambulance corps?
A paid member or volunteer member?
Volunteer member.
No, because then we have to have paid EMTs in order to bill. If we have volunteers, we can't bill.
Okay, but within that multi-page item, it did mention about volunteer members. And
Yeah, there's two different standards that would have to be followed, and we're gonna opt to not do the volunteer route, because it, first of all, it'll be too difficult to manage.
Okay.
And we're just gonna stick with the paid,
That chapter might apply to a split where maybe during the day you have a private company that will monitor the ambulance corps, and then at night, I know there's some of them in the state, that's where that chapter might apply. Maybe, am I right?
There is availability if in the ordinance that I drafted, there is a possibility of volunteers that can slowly move in, but it's up to the director and the council to.
We have labor problems there, Mike? If
that I don't know, but I know it's two different sets of standards, and if we have volunteers, we can't bill. So you have to have the two paid EMTs on.
That makes sense. Regarding the, having the sheet with the approvals about traffic, in most cases, for a large thing such as Pro Lodges, last night we did a minor subdivision to properties on 13th Avenue.
No, not that.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, things are done pretty much on a timely basis. Now, also with the fire department, some of these things will get a sheet of paper, or I know there might be time conflicts regarding the meeting, and they're not always in sync.
Understood.
Now, that will have to happen too.
Right.
The other thing is, I know a few years ago, and I don't know if he did it this year, but the attorney usually sends to the council about any capital projects that will be coming up during that year. I believe there might be a statutory requirement that should go to the planning board, and we never get it. The only one I ever remember getting was Tuella Avenue for the water line replacement. I don't recall getting any after that. So that's another thing. I don't know if that comes through the building department or.
Should probably be the borough engineer, I would think.
Borough engineer, or maybe through the DPW, I don't know.
Any capital projects? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? I'll talk to Tom about it.
Any capital project for noticing any with regards to the planning board comes from the engineering department.
Yeah, I'll talk to Tom.
It hardly ever comes from an attorney or the borough attorney, unless it involves some zoning aspect. And that's the only time you would get a notice from the borough. But it's mostly done by the engineer.
You get put on the line a lot.
I tell you, you got me on my toes here.
Who loves that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
You make the big bucks now.
Just for the record, that was our planning board chairman speaking at the microphone. Anyone else care to speak? Yes, there.
Pam Swayze, 31 Ellen Drive. I just wanted to make an additional comment about the volunteer ambulance. I had done some research, and I believe in order to bill insurance, you need to have 2 people on the rig that are certified in basic life support. It doesn't matter if they're paid or volunteer, but I believe that that's the requirement.
There's two different sets of standards for paid employees and volunteers, and we're not gonna get into that. We're just gonna stick with our paid.
No, I understand that, but specifically related to billing insurance, that's the requirement, is to have 2 people on the rig certified in basic life support. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone else care to speak? If not, I'll close the public portion, and I believe we're done. Is that correct, Sinead?
Yes, we have to go into
Executive.
executive. So
Okay,
you can make a
motion to go into executive?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss personnel matters, litigation, and legal reports. Minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires that confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved that the public be excluded from this meeting.
Take 2 minutes.